So you finally decided to take the plunge into the Monster Hunter series with the release of Monster Hunter Wilds, or maybe you're a returning series veteran that's just looking to get up to date as to what you should be doing in between hunts. Whatever happens to be the case, I've got you covered. Now before we begin, I would like to point out this video is going to have chapters, so if you hover over the YouTube timeline, the little red thing, you'll notice that there's going to be little separators, and in there you can choose to watch only the section that is relevant for you, and you can also save the video, return to the later date, or send it over to a friend that you feel needs to learn any of the things that I go over in the video. So, having said that, let's go ahead and get things started. If you start through the game and you play through the prologue, which is just a very simple mission, you go and you fight yourself a Chatacabra, you're eventually going to end up over here, which is your base camp. Now, the very first thing that I would advise you to go ahead and do is head over to the training area, which is all the way in the back here. If you notice, it's got this little red cloth over here. Once you go into the training area, that is going to allow you to basically test out every single weapon in the game in a controlled environment, to the point where you can even talk to this dude over here, and he will allow you to go ahead and change the behavior of the training dummy, so that if you happen to need to practice something like parries or something like that, you can have the dummy do something like, whether it being on standby, goes into smash mode, which will cause the dummy to go ahead and start smashing down, which will enable you to train things like perfect parries and stuff like that. So like you wait for the attack, and then as it's coming down, perfect parry. See, you can test parries, you can test all of the things that you could possibly ever want. But the most important point to me is going to be that you go ahead into this makeshift camp and you just... I'm skipping through the tutorials, you don't really have to read those, but you can come over here, change equipment, and you select a different weapon so that you can practice. You're like, oh man, I really want to see what it's like to use the lance, for instance. You go ahead, you equip your lance, and then you can go and you can start practicing stuff on the training dummy. You can start practicing your combos and all of that good stuff. And you might also want to eventually check out, guides and all that stuff. But the first thing that you really want is to get a feel for each of the different weapons. Because you can watch a million different guides on a million different weapons, and you'll never understand how it feels to actually play the weapon, which I think is one of the most important things for you to select which weapon is going to be your main. So I would recommend come over here, try these all out. There's also going to be menus with interesting combos for you. So if you go over here, there is a play guide in the menu section. It is the third option, and you go play guide, and then you can go weapon controls, and you will see that there's like a combo section for each of the weapons, just to give you a general idea of the things that you can do. These are not all of the things that you can do in the weapon. You'll want to check out an actual weapon guide on YouTube for that. But, this gives you something to get started with if you don't feel like watching YouTube videos and you want to learn for yourself. Because, nobody is born taught. Everybody learns stuff at their own pace. So you can learn the basics of each of the weapons like this, or you can check a video if that is your preference. But I think the most important thing is just head over here and actually use your weapon against the dummy so that you have an idea of what you can expect with each of the weapons, and you got a feel for it. Now, I feel like I've extended this portion of the tutorial a little bit too much, but that is just to emphasize how important it is, because the game is never going to gel for you if you do not choose the correct weapon that you feel good playing. It's kind of like a fighting game character, which is why the combo list almost looks like a fighting game's combo list. This is Capcom, the same publisher that works on Street Fighter. So, you want to pick your main weapon. That's like one of the most important things possible. Now, the other thing that you need to take into account is that you're going to need to eat, because eating in this game gives you a very important buff. It increases your maximum health, increases your maximum stamina. You just always want to be well-fed throughout the game. Now, we are already well-fed. We do have that buff, but I'm going to go through it and do it again for you guys. But I want to call out one thing. If you notice, there's this little dude over here who's got a steak symbol on him. I know, you're like, a steak? Yeah, we call it a well-done steak. It's like a little bone with some meat around it. You can talk to him, Tom, over here, and he is going to give you rations. And rations is something that you can actually use when cooking. So that is what he's giving you right now. And throughout the whole game, that's all he's given me, but I haven't done all of the side quests and all that stuff. I predict that this guy will become a little bit more important as title updates get deployed. I think he's going to give us more ingredients for eating and all of that stuff. So it is important for you to be aware that he is there. So let's talk about preparing ourselves a meal, shall we? Now, if you go over here to our tent, you will be able to just go over here where there's the food thing. I'm sorry, in this character I haven't done all the tutorials. You can see that it says right there, grill a meal. Now, there's also another option to cook a meal. I don't know if I've unlocked it in this character yet, though, which is the BBQ. Yeah, we do have the portable BBQ grill. So you can just use this as well. And any place out in the world, you can just cook your own meal. Works just like if you were in the tent. So let's go ahead and grill ourselves a meal. You can do a custom meal. You can do a recommended meal, and you have your favorite meals, which you can save. But for now, let's just do a custom meal. I don't know which ingredients we have available at the very beginning of the game. We have some meat over here, and we have kunafa cheese. That's nice. We actually get a pretty decent meal, which gives us Defender Meal Low. You got some food skills over there, and it even tells you here what buffs you are getting. But one of the most important things is that if you eat meat, you're going to be getting attack bonus. If you eat fish, you're going to be getting a defense bonus. If you eat veggies, you're going to be getting elemental resistances. These are going to become important as you play through the game and you understand a little bit more about the different systems, but usually, rule of thumb, you want to eat meat for dealing more damage. Kill something and it's dead, and then you don't have to worry about it. But if you are taking an absolute beating from a monster that is shooting lightning at you, you might want to be like, you know what, maybe I'll eat my veggies this time, and then I'll have a little bit more elemental resistances. So that's the way that your thought process should go when you are preparing food. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to do start cooking. There's going to be a little cutscene. Your hunter is going to prepare the meal. And then he's going to eat it. And that is going to give us the food buff. It's a really good cutscene. You don't want to be skipping this, okay? Now, you can skip it by pressing on the PlayStation controller. That's going to be the touchpad. On Xbox controller, it's going to be the back button. And on PC, it's probably going to be escape or something. But yeah, just press all the keys. Actually, I think it's Y by default. But you can change all of that stuff. All the keybinds are customizable. Now, another thing that is going to be very important whenever you do your meal is you want to make sure that you have it in between hunts. Because in previous Monster Hunters, you would have like this ritual almost. Before every hunt, you go and you eat a meal. This time around, the meal is going to just last 50 minutes. And you can get in as many hunts as you want in that time. And you will still have the buff. And you're like, oh, that's cool. But one of the things that will likely happen, because it happened to me multiple times, is that you're going to be in the middle of a hunt and the food buff's going to run out. And when that happens, you will lose a little bit of your maximum health as well as your stamina, which you will notice over here on the top. Oh, it's not. Oh, there it is. If you notice on the top left-hand side, we have everything maxed out, health and stamina. Those are going to become lower if you lose your food buff. And the duration of the food buff is also shown on the top left-hand corner of the screen. You can see right there, 49 minutes and 17 seconds. You just hold down on L1 or the left bumper. And on the PC side of things, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what key it is. It is whatever key you use to access your menus. But yeah, usually I play with controllers, so my apologies for that. But yeah, make sure to constantly check on your food buff in between hunts so that you go and you always have your food buff up. Now, let's talk about getting your items, because you obviously want to make sure that you are well supplied before you start on a hunt. As you can see, you go up into your tent. This can be a tent or it can be a pop-up camp, which is something that you unlock a little bit later into the game. And then you can go into transfer items, and that just allows you to kind of like select, okay, make sure we have max rations, make sure we have like all of the potions, mega potions, all that good stuff, and you have those in your item. I'll also teach you guys how to create loadouts for items and equipment and food and all of that stuff a little bit later in the video. But for now, let's just go ahead and see how we can go about starting hunts. So after you've eaten, you've gotten all of your, you've selected your main weapon, you've eaten, you've gotten your consumables in order, you're ready to get this hunt started. So let's think about this. Which monster are you going to be hunting? Now, for our case, I think it would be good for us to just go ahead and hunt a Chatacabra. It's like one of the easiest monsters of the game, but just to give you guys an example. And we have the Chatacabra right here. amphibian. And so if we go through and you hit the bumper, right bumper, left bumper, you can go through and scroll through all of the information in regards to this monster. This is very important because, you know, Chupacabra is an easy monster, but as you face off against harder monsters, you will get interesting information about those monsters. So if we scroll through, you'll see, okay, his tongue is a weak point and his forelegs are breakable ×2. That means you can break both of his legs and that will give you additional rewards. It also tells you that if you want to be fighting a Chupacabra, you can use the elemental attack of ice and thunder. Don't really focus too much on this unless you really want to dive deep into doing elemental weapons. Throughout base Monster Hunter Wilds, you can get away with just using raw damage for everything and you will shred everything, pretty much. It's not particularly hard. Then it also tells you which materials it can drop. This is going to be important later for when you are crafting materials. We'll talk about that too. But you know, usually you want to see if you can collect some information on the monster. Now, you're not always going to have information on these monsters. So for instance, I haven't really hunted a Chemitrice. So all I know is that its head is breakable, its neck is a weak point, the tail is breakable and severable. And I do have some information on her already because I did hunt her apparently. I thought I hadn't hunted it yet. But if we go into Balahara, we haven't hunted that, so you'll notice that in here there's going to be question marks, like, well, you haven't hunted this monster yet, so you have to go and you hunt it, and that's how you kind of like learn what is the weakness of the monster and all of that good stuff. That's the way that it works. Your hunter will automatically fill out this information as you hunt these monsters, so always check up on this stuff that you are doing. Now, I'm not really going to change my equipment too much because early monsters are fairly easy to fight, so how do we start the quest? Well, you can actually start the quest straight from your tent, if that's something that you want to do. If you just want to go on an optional quest, post join quest, and you will see here optional quests. Right now I have available to me Firestarter, Beware the Chupacabra. Now, that's not how I usually like to start hunts because I like hunting monsters out in the open world. So this kind of works like previous Monster Hunter games. You just start the quest, it instantly begins the quest for you, and you're good to go. The way that I like to do it is I like to actually go out into the map and select the monster. Alma also doubles up the functionality that you saw over there on the tent. So if you speak with Alma, you also get the post-join quest, and then there's assignments, which is for the main campaign, which right now we don't have any. But then there's also your optional quests like we talked about.
I'll be waiting here.
So these are like two ways to start, either on the tent or with Alma. Another way to start is you press up on the touchpad or the back button on your Xbox controller, or on PC, I believe it would be M to bring up the map. And then if you notice, there's going to be a legend at the bottom that tells you what each of the things does. This will be filled out if you happen to be playing with PC controllers. As you can see here, it will tell you all of the buttons that you need to press for whatever you want to do, and all of these are customizable in the options, right? But we are going to be using controllers. So one of the things that I want you to pay attention to is that if you press square, it's going to show you all of the monsters that are currently available in the map. Now from this menu, you can just go and you can create a quest and you can get started instantly. But me personally, I like actually just going out and hunting them. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to tag this by pressing on the set waypoint button, which in this one, it is going to be the R3, or pushing down on the right stick. And that is going to basically target that Chupacabra for hunting. And then you can just go out into the world, which is the beauty of Monster Hunter Wilds. Everything is pretty much seamless. And you can call out your Seikret. Now, Seikret is up D-pad, so you just press up D-pad. And your Seikret is going to start running towards the monster until it eventually gets there. But if you don't want him to run towards the monster, because what's going to happen is you can press R2 for your Seikret to stop moving, but then if you try moving in a different direction, your Seikret's going to go back to just, you know, doing the monster thing. It's like, whoa there. So there's another thing that you can do. You can press down on D-pad, and Seikret will stop being in auto mode, and now you can just, you know, ride around on Seikret manually if you want to. You still have the scout flies telling you which direction you have to go, but you now have Seikret in auto mode, and he won't just be running all of the time. This is something that I ran into as I was playing the game, because I wasn't even aware that you could just press down on D-pad to have Seikret stop. Gaijin actually told me that this morning, after I played the game for 55 hours. That would have been useful to know earlier. See, I don't read tutorials. I'm not smart. Anyway, you can press up D-pad again for him to resume the automatic pathing, and that is going to take you to the monster that you marked. This is my favorite way of starting quests. You just go up to the monster, and you start beating on it. And the thing is, one of the first things that you want to be doing is you want to sneak up on it and press circle or the B button, and that will allow you to do a sneak attack. I don't know what it's going to be on PC. It's going to be F. So you can do this. Boom! And then in my case, I can follow it up with the triangle attack and just like start beating up this Chatacabra. Oh my god, I have a bug! He attacked me! If you get pinned down by anything, you can mash X or A, depending on which controller you're on. And then you can wiggle the left stick. That will get you out of combat faster. Now, if you notice, we are now seeing different damage numbers on the monster, but you can also press whatever happens to be your focus mode button if you're on PC, or your left trigger, and that will show, ooh, there's a little bit of a red in there. Look at that. That means that monster has a wound. That is a new mechanic to Monster Hunter Wilds. So what you want to be doing is, when you get a wound like that, you can hold down the focus mode, which is left trigger, and then you press on R1, and that is going to allow you to do a focus strike. Now, the Gunlance focus strike can sometimes be a little bit tricky, as I completely whiff my focus strike multiple times. Come on, Chatacabra, work with me here, bro. I'm trying to do a tutorial. Thank you. Once you hit it, you will notice that the attack actually capitalizes much more, deals a ton of damage, gives you some CC. It's very useful to do this. Now, different weapons are going to have different animations, but the input for your focus strike is always going to be the same. But yeah, that's one of the basic new mechanics. You also don't have to break the wound like this. You can just keep attacking if that's what you choose to do. The benefit that you don't get is the CC that I told you about and the damage bonus that you get for using these abilities. If you break more than one wound at a time, you'll also get a damage bonus, which some weapons are better at doing than others. Gunlance is a little bit tricky to break more than one wound at a time, but it is brutally satisfying, as you can see. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to finish off this Chatacabra here. Actually, I should let him run away, because then we could see the chase. Come on, Chatacabra, run away. You can do it, buddy. I'll let you run away if you run away, just for a little bit, though. Oh, would you look at that? Our Palico just alerted us that there is a terrain feature that we can use in combat here that I had almost forgotten. See, every now and then you'll see these little things here that are these rocks that you can throw down. If you hold down focus mode, it will give you like a prompt up top. In my case, that's going to be circle. And if you do that, it's going to drop these rocks on top of the monster, which causes massive damage. So that's also something you want to be paying attention to. Sometimes it'll be rocks. Other times it will be other features, like, for instance, some vines in the ground or something like that. There's a bunch of different things that you can do, right? Come on, Chatacabra, you don't want to run away. We're going to kill you at this rate. You're going to die a little bit too fast. There we go. We're going to go ahead, pop another focus strike on him. See, our Palico just said, oh, he's almost there. And you can see, if you look on the left-hand side on the minimap, he's got a little skull symbol on top of him. Whenever he gets that skull symbol, that means that you can now capture him. Capturing him would involve bringing traps and tranquilizer bombs, which we didn't really bring because I'm slacking and I'm still at the beginning of the game, but it is what it is. Now, one of the things is, when monsters move away from you, one of the things that you want to consider doing is sharpening your weapon. If you look to the top left-hand side, you will notice that there is a sharpness gauge that is currently glowing yellow. It is, let me actually, oh, I was going to bring up the menu to see if it would let me use the cursor, but I guess not. But anyways, you guys can see it's on the top left-hand side, right? And so what you want to be doing is you want to sharpen it. Now, you can do this by accessing your menu with L1. Press square after you select the item. That's going to sharpen it. Or you can also go ahead and just hold L1 and then use the right stick to select the correct thing that you want to do in the wheel here, which I will teach you how to customize it later. And you can just choose the upmost section, which will give you access to sharpening weapon. Once you sharpen your weapon, you're going to be good to go again. And you're like, oh, but the monster's really far away now. Remember, you have Seikret. Press up D-pad. Seikret will automatically ferry you over to the monster. If you want Seikret to go a little bit faster, you can press down on the right bumper, and he will start running a little bit faster. Now, the monster will likely be sleeping. An important thing for you to be aware is that when a monster is sleeping, it will take twice the amount of damage. So this is a good time if you're fighting something a little bit harder. You might want to place down some barrel bombs. I don't know if we have any. We do. We're going to put down some large barrel bombs. You can put 2 of those down. And then you want to use your biggest possible attack to blow them up. Now, the thing is, when it comes to wilds, another thing that you can do, if you're not particularly confident in your attack, you can also just pick up one of those barrel bombs. Why you gotta wake up? And you can roll it by pressing circle. You would have taken twice the damage, but he woke up because we took too long. And rolling it will hit the monster and also detonate the other bomb. Or you can just wake it up with one of your strongest attacks, which in my case would be the Wyvern Fire that we're going to be exemplifying here. We're going to Wyvern Fire him twice to teach him a little bit of a lesson because he did lick us, which is fairly disgusting if we're going to be completely honest. I mean, who really wants to be licked by a toad, right? So we're going to have to go ahead and put him down. It is what it is. Chatacabra, my guy. You have outlived your usefulness in this guide. Oh, he is punishing me hard. Look at him. Is this because I'm playing sloppily? Oh, look at me just doing a full Wormstake blast without any shells. Alright, let's go ahead and punish that hind leg. And he's done. And then once you are done with the quest, you are going to go ahead and carve him. You press circle or B button, or on PC, what's going to be F. Alright. And then after you finish killing him, you can press the touchpad and hold it down. That will end the quest immediately. Or the back button on the Xbox button. Or on PC, it's going to be Y. That will complete the quest. And it will give you additional materials for what you've done. You can then hold Y to get the details of those materials. If you actually... Oh, I actually hold Y to skip. My bad. But there's a button that you can use to get the details on the materials that you just acquired. But naturally, we've gotten some Chatacabra materials. Every now and then monsters will also drop these things. This is ammunition that you can pick up with your slinger. So if you look at it, whenever it's glowing, you can hold down your focus button, which is left trigger. You press circle or B, and that will automatically equip a special ammunition type that monster drops, which in this case would have been a burst pod, that you can fire by going left trigger or right trigger. This is something that you'll want to experiment with, different types of ammunition and all of that kinds of good stuff, because we do have the slinger in here, but it is not as complex as the clutch claw in Monster Hunter World Iceborne, so it's fine. If you see these, by the way, these are flash flies. You can use these to blind monsters as well. And if you happen to spot one of these, Vigor Mantle Bug, these will heal you. So this is just a matter of you experimenting with all of the different things that you will find with your little slinger thing. You can also pick up items whenever you are on horseback on Seikret. So like, for instance, I'm going to be calling my Seikret. And if you notice here, Vigor Mantle Bug, you can still catch it by L2 and circle or L2 and B. I hesitate to say what it would be on PC. Let me see. How do we even get into... Oh, it's Alt and then F. So if you press Alt and F, you can pick up things with your slinger. There you go. But anyway, once you're done with your hunt, usually you want to go back to base, or maybe you want to hunt some more things. In my case, I want to go back to base, so I'm going to open up the map, which would be touchpad or M on PC, and then you can just hover over to your base camp. You can go ahead and you can travel back to base. So naturally, there's going to be a couple of more things that we want to be learning after doing this. One of the important things is going to be that, if you guys notice, we have a couple of quests here that we're supposed to do, the exclamation markers. So this is just introducing me to NPCs, but every now and then you will get some of these quests that will show up as optional quests later on the handler, on Alma. But we go over here, we talk with him, he's going to explain, oh, I'm the support deck, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes they will give you like a specific quest for you to do. Now, another thing about the support desk, which is this Palico, if you notice here, he's got like a little exclamation mark symbol on him, is that he will double up as your ingredient center when you are in other camps. Because some of the other camps do not have an ingredient center, but you can come over to him, Conut, and you can go and just... Oh, we don't have that functionality available yet? Interesting. But eventually the support desk will be enabled in a way that he will also allow you to collect ingredients the same way that you can collect it from the ingredient center, and that is important for you to be aware as well. So if any of these NPCs gives you a request, it will show up in here as like a side quest for you to do with Alma. So it'll be like an optional quest here that will be marked with like a special symbol on top. You want to be doing those because they are going to be unlocking different functionality in the game. Sometimes those quests will involve you doing something that is not explicit. You're going to have to figure it out, like maybe explore the map, pick up some special resources or something of that nature. So keep that in mind. It's not always just like something that is super easy to do. But you do want to be talking to all the NPCs whenever you see those things above their head. Now, the main thing about Monster Hunter is that you're going to be hunting monsters in order to collect their parts to then make better gear in order to be able to hunt bigger monsters. So, whenever you are done hunting a monster, you want to come over to Gemma and just be like, "Hey, Gemma, let's make a new hat," right? So we killed that Chotacabra. Let's go ahead and make some gear from him. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make his chest. And by the way, you can make either the chest for the male character or the chest for the female character for fashion purposes. So for this case, we're going to go with the cat ears. We're going to go ahead and equip that. And let's also go ahead and make the male chest. So in this case, we're just crafting Chotacabra stuff because that is the monster that we just hunted. However, if you happen to actually want to research the stuff that each monster gives, you can look over to the right side and it will tell you the different skills that each piece of equipment has. So in the case of the Chotacabra, in the head, we're going to be getting speed eating, and then in the chest, we're also going to be getting speed eating. If we were to get the hands, we would have gotten item prolonger, and then we have a couple more here, like we have the chemistry stuff, which gives us fire resistance, flinch free, fire resistance. And if at any point you're like, well, I don't actually know what any of these things do, like, well, what does speed eating do? You can press square on the controller or the X button on your Xbox, or if you're on PC, you can go ahead and hit R, I guess, and that is going to then let you go onto skill info, and then it will tell you what each of the skills does. Like here, item prolonger, item effect duration plus 10%. So if you happen to use an item that gives you a buff, that's going to last 10% longer. You also have botanist here, recovery speed, and you can see what any of these skills does. Don't get too overwhelmed by this. Just, you know, look at these skills, use whatever feels right. Like I said, this particular game is not super hard, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Another really cool feature for when you're crafting armor is that you can go ahead and add items to a wish list, which if we go over here to forge armor, and I'm going to scroll down to the chemistry's armor, we're going to go ahead and select a piece like, let's say, the chest piece, which we clearly do not have enough parts to craft. You can see we're missing the chemistry's tail. So we can go ahead and hit with Y or triangle, or I believe on PC it's probably going to be R, whatever it is for the submenu thing. I think it's usually R. Yep. Press R, and then you can go and add it to a wish list. Now, when you add something to a wish list, you get this little pin thing here, and what that does is it's actually going to mark which monster you need to kill in order to get that specific material. So, for instance, if we now open our map and we happen to have a Chemitrice on the map, which we do, you'll notice that the Chemitrice has a pin on her. Unlike some of the other monsters, like we have Balahara here, no pin. We have Chotacabra, no pin. We have Chemitrice, has a pin indicating, by the way, there's something from your wish list that you can get from this monster. It also shows up in your optional quests, so if you go ahead and you come up to Alma, and you just go into the optional quests, it will show a pin on the relevant quest where you can get the material that you put on your wish list. So make sure to utilize that functionality to make things a little bit easier to organize for you. Now, beyond crafting armor, you can also craft weapons. Now, in my case, Chotacabra doesn't really have a gunlance tree, which is something that sometimes happens. Not all monsters can do stuff for all weapons, but I can still upgrade my gunlance to the Hope Gunlance 2 because I've collected some iron ore along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I've been skipping the crafting cutscenes. I want you guys to experience that on your own in the final game because that's Hell of a cool cutscene if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, we've upgraded our gun lance. We've upgraded our gear a little bit, which is pretty nice. So let's talk about ores, because we just used something to craft that you guys don't know how to collect. Ores. Like, oh, what's with the ores? How do we get more ores? And that is going to be what I'm... Is this hole always here? Ooh. That's a glitch texture. It's a strange hole. Hadn't seen that before. Anyway, as I was saying, if you open up your map with the touchpad or whatever, I do have my map locked so that it doesn't turn. I'm going to have an options guide. It's probably already been up after this video. I would recommend you guys check that out if you want to check out like some of the settings that I would recommend people change, stuff like that. But if you go into the map and then you use your D-pad, or I think it'll be A and D on your PC, there's always going to be a legend that tells you what to do. But if you go over here, you can go to filter icons. And then in filter icons, it's going to give you display all, which is showing you pretty much everything that is on the map at any given time. But if you hold on triangle or Y if you're on an Xbox controller, or in the case of the PC you want to press R, it's going to give you some options to choose from. Now, right now, what I told you guys is that we wanted to learn how to gather ore. So ore is going to be under the gathering section. You can see that for gathering, it is going to show you a bunch of different things. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set the minimap filter to this. Clear minimap filter. And now we're going to apply this filter to the minimap so that it will show us the different items that we are looking at. If we now go ahead and we start zooming in a little bit, you'll notice that the only things that show up are going to be things that you can gather. So you got some thunderbugs, and you have the mining outcrops over here. And if you actually want to go through the icons, you can scroll down all the way to the mining outcrops, and it will cycle between the different mine crops that are available in the game. And this is how you would get your iron ore, and there's a different variety of ores that you're going to learn about as you play through the game. But in order to efficiently collect them, one of the easiest things is you just set a waypoint, very much like you would set a waypoint for a monster. You hop on Seikret, and Seikret will take you there to where you can go and you can collect your item. While you are running around on Seikret, do remember that you can hold down on the focus mode and press circle or B, or was it Alt F if you're on PC, and you can go ahead and you can pick up different items along your route. So we're going through a route right now that doesn't have a whole lot of things to pick up. Seikret's just ferrying us to a different location. But, as you can see right here, a little bit of a fossil. Boom. We pick that up. So you can just like pick up stuff on the go, even if you're doing like main story quests or whatever. You just pick up stuff on the go using your slinger. You don't even have to stop or dismount or do anything, right? It's pretty good. So he's going to be bringing us over here to a section where, by the way, we have a whole bunch of more traps. You were supposed to be taking me to some nodes, bro. What are you doing? The node is all the way down there. Why are we over here, Seikret? Seikret's losing his mind.
What a view!
So you can jump down and you can glide if you press down on R2 whenever you're on Seikret falling. So that's how we kind of just like fix that. Anyway, when it comes to these you can't just like pick up with your slinger.
Ooh, I think we can mine this.
Actually, you can if your palico breaks it. Interestingly enough, I didn't even know that. All right, but usually you want to go up to the actual node and farm it. So let's go ahead and find another one. I think that there should be another one nearby, right? There's another node here somewhere. There it is. I'm so blind. So you just hold down circle. You can also do it from Seikret, by the way. So if you, even if you're on your mount, you just hold circle and he will pick up the ores as well. And then you can just like cycle through and go to the next piece of ore that you want to go gather. And Seikret will automatically ride you there and make things easier. This means that you don't really have to rely as much on you know, set routes or anything like that. You can make your own routes. You just run around, select the different nodes, and Seikret will take you there, and things will just be efficient that way. But that is how you do gathering and you filter the map for different things that you might be looking for. The same way that we filtered for nodes, you can filter for anything else. Like you want herbs, you want honey. All you need to do is explore the map, and as you explore the map, it will automatically be revealed to you. So like as you see, we've been here, we know there's honey here. We know there's Windward Succulent, which gives you special account items that give you points and all of that stuff. But this is like a whole another 2 hours of explanation to explain all this. Just know that you can filter this and get stuff done. Okay, so we're back in our tent because it's time to talk about loadouts. So if you happen to play more than one weapon, or you happen to use more than one armor set in the same weapon that you like using, you might be annoyed if you have to constantly keep swapping armor pieces in and out, and you're like, oh, I really wanted to use the other set now. So there's a way for you to actually save an equipment loadout. So if you go to your tent and you hit change equipment, this will let you select whatever set you want. So right now we have the Chotacabra helm, but let's say we actually want to go back and just have the Hope set, which is the default starting armor. And we want to do that because this one comes with Divine Blessing 3 or whatever, right? So now that you have the Hope set, and let's say rather than having a cannon, I want to go ahead and have the lance on the secondary weapon. So we have our set made, and later down the game you'll also be able to equip decorations and all that stuff, and the loadouts thing will allow you to basically save all of that so that you can call it up at a moment's notice. So we can go over here to manage loadouts, which is going to be L3 on any controller, or the shift button when it comes to PC, and then you can just press R or triangle or Y to register a loadout. That will enable you to register it, and it will save all of the things that you have equipped. Decorations include, talismans included, everything. And then you can just come back here and equip that specific loadout. You can also use the same button, so triangle, Y, or R, in order to rename it. So let's call this set, for instance, the Funlance & Co. Which is Funlance and Company, so Funlance and Lance, whatever. You guys get the idea, right? But now let's say, okay, now I want to go ahead and do another one. So you can go ahead and let's say we use this. I actually really like the armor with no sleeves. That actually looks pretty badass. So you can go with this, and I don't know. I'm just picking up random stuff. All right. Oh, that's lovely. That's beautiful. So let's go ahead and go into Manage Loadouts again, and you can save this, register loadout, boom. You can go ahead and you can rename it, let's say, Summer Mode. There. Now you can swap between these whenever you want, which is just convenient, and this is going to be something that you're going to be using at least by the time you start getting into endgame in order to optimize different loadouts for different monsters, do all of that stuff, right? Now, another thing that you can also do loadouts of is your items, which is actually very useful for you to restock very quickly. See, we've picked up a bunch of stuff that we don't actually need to have here, like, oh, we don't need nitro shrooms, IVs, fire herbs. We just want, like, the ration, the mega potion, the regular potions, well done steaks, and right now screamer pods. But let's say we want some more stuff added in here. We don't have any bombs. Let's put some bombs in this set, and then let's put some honey, because honey allows us to craft and do some potions and stuff like that. And, you know, put everything that you could possibly want in there. And then after that, you save loadouts very much the same way that you save loadouts in your equipment. So that is L3, or on the case of PC was Shift, right? Yeah. So you press down on L3. That gives you the item loadouts menu, and then you can just choose where you can save it. They give you a couple of default ones. I'm just going to like save over the first one. I don't really care. Register the loadout here, and then you can once again just rename it for like standard or whatever. And you can have multiple different loadouts. And you might be like, well, why would I want to have two different loadouts? Well, let's say, for instance, you have a loadout for hunt quests where you want to actually go and kill the monster. Then you have another loadout for when you want to capture it, and you would set up your traps and your tranquilizer bombs to be equipped in that case. Maybe you have a loadout for bows or bow guns that includes additional things for you to craft ammunition, stuff like that. That is the usefulness. And then the other thing is, let's say you go out and you spend a bunch of potions and all of that stuff. You get here, and all you have to do is go like, okay, give me my standard item set. Boom, it automatically refills all of the items in your box, and you're good to go. The other thing that's very important that you'll have to master at some point is the crafting list. You don't have to be in your tent to craft, but being in your tent makes things a little bit easier. But you can use herbs to craft potions, and then you can use honey to craft mega potions. It's just we don't have any honey right now. We'd have to go collect it. And there's a bunch of items for you to learn about, to craft, and all of that stuff. So experiment with this as well in order to generate better consumables for you. Like some important ones will be flash pods, so that you will have your flash bombs. Other important ones might be the mega barrel bomb, which we don't have access to yet because we don't have all the ingredients. But you do want to check this crafting list from time to time to make sure that you fill it all out and that you're good to go. Now, another thing is that is not all, because you can also create preferred foods. So if you go to grill a meal, you can go custom meal, and you can just be like, okay, meat, and we don't have kunafa cheese, so we can't really add anything in there. But you can do sub menu, edit favorite meal, and then you can go ahead and add the ingredients over there, and this will save your meal, so that as you get more ingredients and stuff like that, you can save a bunch of different meals that give you different buffs, and that will be interesting for you to go ahead and have all of that done in order to choose which meal you want to consume for which hunt. So now let's talk a little bit about the Radial menu, because you can customize the Radial menu in order to change the location where things are. If we actually go over here to where it says customize Radial menu, it's in the first portion of the options. You can hit there. And then you can go into different shortcuts. If you happen to be on PC, you can choose which items go where, or if you happen to be in the console, you can hit the right stick. So R3 now will take you to the thing, and you can choose which one of these you want to mess with. There's going to be multiple different Radial menus that you can have, and you can choose which one you want to have at any given time. Usually I stick with one to make things fairly simple. And then in here, you can add whatever you need. By default, you have your sharpening thing up top. You have your SOS flare at the bottom. You have optimal status recovery, which is going to just choose whatever happens to be the correct thing to remove your status. So that means it will use a null berry whenever you happen to have something that requires a null berry, and it will use an antidote whenever you happen to be poisoned or something like that. You also have optimal health recovery, which will choose between a potion and a mega potion. But let's say, okay, I want to put some barrel bombs in here. Well, select where you want to put them. Between the optimal healing recovery and the SOS flare. Okay, let's click here. Now let's say, okay, I want to put some barrel bombs. Boom. Now you have barrel bombs over there. Then you can go over here and be like, okay, I want to have some well-done steaks. Boom. Now you have well-done steaks in here. This is not a loadout that I would ever use, but it's just to give you an idea on how to create things. But yeah, you can customize the weapon wheel. You can also customize your PC shortcuts and all of that good stuff. So keep that in mind. Make sure to mess with this and do it in a way that makes sense for you. So for this next portion of the guide, we've gone into one of my late game saves because I want to show you guys the pop-up camp functionality. This actually becomes available fairly early on, but I don't have it in the other save. But eventually here on your base camp, you guys might remember, this is where we were earlier in the guide. It's the base camp, super simple. Over here in the back, there's this dude, which is your pop-up camp Meowster. And you can talk to him to choose where you would like to build pop-up camps, which functionally work as spots where you can go and restock, and also spots where you respawn if you happen to cart when you are fighting a monster. So you can just go to manage pop-up camps, and then you can select which map you want to manage the pop-up camps for, and I will show you all of the locations that you've discovered for that map, and also tell you what are the limits in camps that you can have. Every now and then some of these camps will get destroyed. You can also come over here and you can have the Palico fix up the camps at the cost of a couple of guild points. So as you can see, there's a couple of camps here that I haven't really built, but yeah, you just choose where you want to place those camps, and then those camps will be placed so you can fast travel to them, and you can do a whole bunch of other things. These camps can also be customized, so you can choose different things to add to your tent and whatnot. This is just like for flavor. It doesn't really have any particular importance as far as I'm aware. But yeah, that is pop-up camps. Okay, so for this next part, I've moved this over to the Oil Well Basin, which is a location that was also officially announced. because there's a mechanic here that I find to be of particular importance. Eventually you're going to unlock this in this character called Rurikhan. Just look for this icon in the minimap. I'm not going to open the minimap in the oil well basin to prevent, for the people that want to go in as spoiler free as possible. But you can find the icon that you see there in the minimap, and then you can come over to him, and he operates the smelting foundry. It takes a while before you unlock this in the game, but this allows you to basically smelt armor spheres. Armor spheres is something that you need in order to upgrade your armor. So you can just go over here, and usually what I would do is you either want to smelt like some of the harder things, or maybe you want to use the auto smelt, and you just choose monster materials that you don't need to use, and that will give you additional armor spheres to upgrade your armor with. The importance of that is upgrade armor gets more defense, makes you a little bit more tanky. But yeah, you go over here to smelting, do that. He also has another functionality, which is smelt ore. And this is an endgame system that allows you to smelt monster parts in favor of getting some of these things. Driricite, speculite, argisite, and auricalcite, which, as you can see, these cost more and more points because they're more and more valuable. These are for one of the endgame systems called the Artian weapons. So you can come over here, smelt this stuff, and this allows you to fuel upgrades for the Artian weapon system, which is one of the endgame systems of Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, for the next portion of the guide, I'm going to go to a zone that hasn't been officially announced, but I will only show you one specific NPC, and that is the melder that allows you to do melding. I'm not going to show you any other part of the map at all. Okay, so as you play through the game, you'll eventually end up in this village, and in here you will meet this character called Vio. He runs the melding pot. It takes a bit to get here. I mean, this is still in low rank, but it still takes a while to get to this point, so don't be surprised for like, hey man, where's this melder, bro? Yeah, it takes a while to get there. And then you can say, oh, I want to use the melding pot. And in here is where you can get random decorations. If that is something that you want to get, you have to choose between sword and armor, because now there's different decorations for weapons and different decorations for armors. So you can choose, and obviously these are in a hierarchy. So this is the crappiest decos. These are some of the better decos. Same thing here for armor and for sword. And then you just meld other decos that you have in your possession in order to get to the decos that you want. Now you can, beyond just getting them randomly, you can do meld decorations. This allows you to target specific decorations. So single skill decorations, you can target any of the ones that you want. But multi-skill decorations are going to require you to do specific hunts, specifically tempered monsters, which we'll talk about in a bit. There's also something here which is called Melt Relics, which once again is related to Artian weapons, because Artian weapons have tiers, and if you are hunting lower tier monsters, you're going to get lower tier materials, but then you will be able to fuel the melder in order to get higher tier materials for Artian weapons. But yeah, that is the melding process. Okay, so now let's talk about tempered monsters and investigations, because this is going to be a mechanic that's going to come out a little bit later as you progress through the game, but it is also an extremely important mechanic. If you open up your map, you will notice that we now have a tempered chematrice in our location. So the tempered monster is going to be stronger, as you would expect, and it's also got additional rewards. Which if you go over here by pressing square, you can see that, oh, it's got like additional decorations. It also has some Artian pieces and all of this stuff. Now, you can hunt this just like you would hunt any other monster, but let's pretend for a moment that, oh man, the rewards on this tempered chematrice are actually pretty friggin' tasty. Would be great if I could hunt a couple of these and get just like a bunch of rewards. The reality is, you can. All you got to do is you hit the monster, you click on it with your mouse, I would assume if you're on PC, or you press X or A depending on your controller, then you go create quest. Now when you have create quest here, it's like, okay, so if I just do this, it's going to allow me to go and hunt a chematrice. You can go begin field survey, but there is also the opportunity to save as investigation. What this is going to do is it's going to give you 3 uses of this particular quest. So you can save it as an investigation. It's going to cost you 120 guild points, but once you do that, it will become available at Alma to be taken as an investigation. Now, I'm not going to go to Alma and show it to you because I have so many investigations that I don't want you to look at because it's maybe monsters that you haven't seen yet, and I want to keep things as spoiler-free as possible. But yeah, you can trust me, go to Alma, there's an investigation options there, and you'll be able to do this monster 3 times. The other thing is even though you saved that as an investigation, it's still right there. You can just grab your Seikret and have at it, and go kill it. Now, I understand that this guide is fairly lengthy. We've touched up on a lot of things. We didn't touch up on everything. If there are particular things that you would like to know about Monster Hunter Wilds and 2, do please write those in the comment section so that I can go ahead and make future guides on those. But yeah, for now, I think this is enough to get you started. If you guys enjoyed this video, if it was useful to you in any way, hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, and all of that jazz. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.